Okay, so let's get real for a minute. The illusion of addiction. What is an illusion? Illusion is something that's misunderstood. We don't know what's going on, but how does that apply to addiction and substance use disorder? Well, first of all, there's a staggering number. 94% of Americans who are struggling with any type of addiction, substances, behavioral challenges, doom scrolling, sport betting, gambling, overeating, drinking, smoking, anything. 94% of people who are struggling, not who are doing it casually, who are struggling, do not seek professional help. We don't see this anywhere else. We don't see this in diabetes. We don't see this in kidney disorders, but there's a whole bunch of shame and there's a massive stigma around being weak and not being able to handle my addiction or behavior. And that stops people a lot of times from seeking professional help. So, what is an addiction? First of all, it's important to know there is no single definition for addiction in the world. When I began getting into this world a number of years ago, I went, okay, let's go find the definition for addiction. You can't find one definition. There is not one in the world. So, what I mean by that is if you go see a doctor and you explain your challenges and your problems, the doctor is going to say you have a disease, and particularly a disease in the brain. Okay. All right. And there's a lot of people in AA and other groups, Smart Recovery, believe the disease model. All right. Great. Fine. So now you go see a psychologist or a therapist, and they're going to tell you you have a brain disorder. So one group says disorder, one group says disease. Which one is it? Well, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. You can have a conversation for a whole week about is it a brain disease or a brain disorder? It doesn't matter. They both agree on one thing: the brain. The brain is the driving force behind all self destructive patterns and behaviors. As Dr. Amen says, change your brain, change your life. If you want to change a behavior, a negative behavior in this case, what would happen if you changed your brain? When you go and talk to neuroscientists, it's really interesting because neuroscientists have a nickname for addictions. They call it the disease of neuroplasticity. That's right. They call addiction, even substance abuse behavior, whether it's behaviors or whether it's a substance, doesn't matter. They call that the disease of neuroplasticity. There's the good news. When we approach these challenges in our life from a neuroplasticity point of view first, not only first, great things can happen in your life. What exactly am I talking about? Well, the brain is the driving force behind addictions, and we're talking about brain function, not brain chemistry. I'm not talking about the chemistry. I am talking about the hard drive of the brain. The brain itself, how it fires and how it wires. When a brain is imbalanced and working right, actually, the brain chemistry is magnificent. But when a brain is in an imbalanced state and not firing right, the chemistry is way off. So let's go to the deeper level, which is brain function. My example for you there is your phone. Your phone here. I got my great phone here, love my phone. But if the hardware of the phone isn't working, I don't care what app I put on my phone, it's not going to work. So there's a difference between the hard drive and the software. And the hard drive of our brain is brain function, how it fires. Here's what neuroplasticity is: your brain's ability to rewire and change. That's great news and not so good. Here's why. You can wire your brain in a real positive way, and you can teach your brain some real negative patterns and habits. Psychology and neuroscience actually disagree in many areas when you study them, except they come together on one. Your brain drives your behavior. Your environment has some impact on the brain and the nervous system and all that, absolutely. But ultimately, your brain is the one driving your behavior. But your brain is in charge of everything you think, feel, and do. So if you want to change the behavior, let's start with the brain. Here's a myth in recovery: it's all about willpower. You can do this. I can gut this through. No, it's not. And that's why relapse rates are so incredibly high in the world of recovery, because they rely oftentimes on willpower and shame. Shame comes with willpower because if you're not strong enough to do it, there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. It's not about willpower. Recovery is about brain power. Well, all this sounds like great theory, but how exactly does anybody change your brain? Well, here's the secret to that. Here's the secret sauce or the blueprint to that. And it's already been discovered. And we apply it in so many other areas. We just haven't applied it in the world of recovery. A little slow to adopt it. But here's what it is. The secret to changing behavior, the secret to rewiring the brain is all in something called Hebb's law or Hebb's theory. Hebbian theory. And Hebb's law was created from Donald Hebb, a psychologist from Canada, a neuropsychologist actually from Canada. He's passed a number of years ago, but he came up with the more a neuron fires, the stronger it wires. Let me repeat it. The more a neuron fires, the stronger it wires. So think of ruts in a road. Ruts in a road, when it's brand new, there's no ruts, but if you travel on it for a while, or a path you walk down in the woods, travel on it for a while, there's a little rut. Well, those are little neurons, but if you do it a lot, then the ruts get really big, or the neurons get really strong. Brushing your teeth with your right hand, that's Hebb's law. I can do it. Women, you can put makeup on without thinking. I can brush my teeth without thinking. Now try it with your other hand. Well, some women will be great with makeup because they're used to both hands. But if you've never brushed your teeth, if you've never eaten with your left hand, do it for a week. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be messy. It's going to feel weird. You may want to go like, stop and just go back to your dominant hand, but try it. The more you do it, consistent action over time, the more you're creating new neural pathways in your brain to be able to do something new. So the more I go to the gym after work and not the bar, the more I do things that are positive, go walk with the kids or the dogs, the more I do the positive things, I'm rewiring this to be my new normal. And in time, that's going to feel normal. The other thing's going to feel really weird, and you're not going to want to do it. That's called neural pruning, where the neurons actually dissipate and pull away. So Hebb's law, the more a neuron fires, the stronger it wires. Many of us know and love Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He speaks everywhere about brain and behavior and all that stuff. He's taken Donald Hebb's work, Hebb's law, and he says nerve cells that fire together wire together. And as you begin to learn new information, you biologically wire that information into your cerebral architecture, your brain architecture. So nerves and cells that fire together wire together. And as you begin to learn new information, or in other words, as you begin to do things, you're biologically wire that information into your brain and your brain architecture. And the good news of that is actually how you form habits. There's a lot of information out there in the world about habits. Tiny Habits, a great book, begin little things, but ultimately you have to repeat those things consistently. So consistent action over time will rewire the brain and begin to form new patterns and new habits, and you like them. What we call this a brain first approach to lasting recovery, or a brain first approach to absolutely thriving in life. I don't believe in the word sober. I don't want to live a sober life or be in sobriety. If you look up the definition of sober and sobriety, it is a bleak word. It is no fun, no energy, lifeless, listless. No, thank you. I don't want any part of that. So we focus on, and I love teaching this, and I love living this, is a life of thriving and well-being. And when I focus on thriving and well-being from a brain first point of view, it's easy. I mean, it's just automatic to make better choices in the life. So I encourage you to think about Hebb's law. The more a neuron fires, the stronger it wires. And think of that when you're making choices. All right. Blessings for now, and we'll see you on the other side.